Hello, everyone. Welcome to another IT Career Talk with Professionals. And today we have a head of growth. But before we begin, I'd like to ask you to hit that red subscribe button. So, my guest today is Miss Haifa Baluyos. Hello, Haifa.
Good evening, Raf.
All right. So, Haifa, thank you for joining us today. No, and you have a very unique title, and it's very, I would say, I see this title a lot in startups especially. So maybe you can answer what is this role? What is a head of growth?
Okay, so for head of growth, essentially you wanted this is if you convert this one to the corporate role, it's pretty much like a marketing manager wherein you handle whenever you market something, right? You wanted to either increase the number of clients, increase the number of customers. And similarly in the startup world, it's similar to that one. You use marketing to increase the number of users for the different products that that a company has. In my role specifically, so we do marketing. So that's one. So digital marketing, especially right now that it's pandemic, so you leverage on SEO, you leverage on social media, but the other part is also you leverage on partnerships. So partnerships is a huge role in terms of the growth department. So right now there are many ways that you can leverage on, especially when you already have partners in your organization. So that's pretty much it. Two things for growth, that would be partnerships, and the second one is marketing.
That's right. And I wanna further ask now, how does head of growth work with products? Do you influence the product, or is it like the product is finished and then you are the one that grows it? How does working with the product and also tech um, go with growth, no? Growth people.
Yes, so they are very closely tied because for the growth team, we are the ones talking to the customers. So in a way, we also deal with the product team we're in. Based on our marketing, based on the feedback, based on the partners, these are the things that they are looking at, or these are the problems or the challenges that they are facing. So we feed them back to the product team, and then the product team will be able to share it with us that these are the features that based on these challenges we can share it with you, and then we test it, and then it's a cycle. So it really based it's we work closely with them to ensure that the things that they release are being tested on, and whenever we share it to the customers, to the partners, they also see that okay, based on the new features that we already shared, it's working, or it is increasing our number of users, or are our customers happy with the new features, or what are the other challenges that our customers are facing that are not being addressed by the product. So to your question, yes, we work closely, and it's a cycle. So products, and then features, and then we share it to the customers, and then the same way whenever customers has feedback, because we talk to them on social media through the different partnership meetings that we do, we also feed them back to the product team.
And so to just further clarify, normally or in your case, who does the head of growth report to? Is it the CEO, CTO, partners,
CEO.
CEO? All right. Right. So, to jump to our next question, what are the skills and values that you need to become head of growth?
Values. Okay, values is really okay. One would definitely be in the partnership side, it's really the relationship building. So you really have to be adept at talking to other people and managing relationships. So it's not just about whenever you do partnerships, it's not just about first meeting, you're on board, then we're okay. You have to make sure that you keep the relationship warm. So it's not just because the first time I get something from you, do this one, do this one. So you have to always keep the conversation going. So what are the things that you can help them? What are the things that they can help you? And try to not try to always keep as a relationship manager, try not na parang 1 month you were not talking to that particular partner. So have always keep on talking to them. So that's one. So the relationship building is very important. And then always, if there are things that your partner is doing well, always compliment them, because it makes them feel that you see the good things that they are doing and you value the things that they are doing. So the relationship building is one. The next one is that always be ready for sudden changes. So that's one, because when you're working in a startup, there are a lot of changes that could happen. Partners can come and go. There are the products could change in direction. Even the target audience could sometimes even change suddenly. So you have to be ready for that one, and you also have to be ready in managing the expectations of your partners and your audience. So those kinds of things. So you have to be ready for change. And what else? Thirdly, you have to be a good people person there. So that generally it's like an overarching skill, but definitely in this role, you have to be a people person. You have to understand people. You have to understand your product team, how their brain works, how they work. You have to understand your partners. You have to understand your customers. So that way, you try to be the person in between and manage all those things. And then with a goal that in the end, all of the initiatives that you do, the goal is really to increase the number of users for your organization or for that particular product.
Right, no? And you mentioned about being ready to deal with the unexpected or change, like a pivot or change in direction. How do you become? How do you get ready for such an event?
Okay, first one, breathe.
Breathe. Okay.
Breathe. So many times changes sometimes what's this triggers a lot of emotion, especially if it's a really big change, right? So sometimes if you act based on emotions, you could make a lot of mistakes. So whenever a change is being relayed to you, bad news is being relayed to you that would change the route of whatever it is that you are planning. So take a pause, breathe, and then from then on, try to gather as much information as you can to make a decision. And one thing, I was reading a book few days ago, and there was this note on decision making, wherein what you need to do is you have to gather at least 40 to 70% enough information to make a decision. So that means if you think that you are in a situation where you already need to decide, so gather as much as information as you can. And at minimum, if you already have at least 40%, and not more than 70%, because more than 70% is sometimes overdoing it. And the more time that you take in terms of delaying or making decision, you are already there are consequences already. Let's say there are resources that are being wasted already, and there are people waiting. The relationship might not be going smoothly already. So the idea there is when you have 40 to 70% information already, then you make that decision. And also in this part, gut instinct also plays a role. So sometimes you don't have enough information, right? So just there is this gut feeling for you wherein these are enough information, then this is what your gut feeling tells you. Most of the time, your gut feeling tells you based either in your experience or based on the different information, that sometimes those information doesn't make sense. But if your gut feeling says, based on the information that I have right now, this is the right thing to do, then go for it. And then make the decision as quickly as you can. So that's one of the things for example, whenever you face sudden changes, you really have to make quick decisions. That's the big one, because a lot of times there are other people that are waiting for you, and you can't just delay decision making. There you go.
Right. And you touch a little bit of being a people person, no? So as a manager, you do have a lot of people under you. How do you describe your management style?
Oh yeah, I was just reading about it earlier. So what are management styles? So management styles for me, that would be a combination of two. So that would be the visionary and the coaching style. The visionary is that I'm more of a trusting person, wherein these are the things that we wanted to do. It has to be clear. Let me know if it's not clear enough. And then these are your specific roles. And then whatever strategies, whatever process that you wanted to do, I'll trust you that you will do that one. As long as at the end of it, these are our goals, these are our metrics. Let's just make sure that we get to deliver this. So that's the visionary kind of part. And then the coaching is really when, especially when there are new people, and then you can't just, I'm not comfortable with just, okay, these are the things, now I want you to do it. Sometimes if there are things, well, many times I'd like to coach them at first so that they get, because coaching them, giving them the foundation pretty much accelerates their progress in the long run. So they get to learn as much as they can. And then the other thing, and then you share with them the tips and tricks in the beginning. And then after you're confident that they already know the foundation, then you can already give them the freedom to do what they need to do on their own way. And then as long as the goal, as long as you guys are aligned with the objective and the goals, there you go. So two things. It's a combination of the visionary and the coaching.
Right. Thanks for that. So, what can I say? Your position, obviously you didn't start off as head of growth immediately, no? So let's go back and find about your journey. How did you enter the IT sector? No? So let's go back and ask, what was your decision point of picking your college and even picking your course?
Okay, so how did I pick? So I graduated computer science
Right.
from Xavier University, Ateneo de Cagayan. And the reason I took that course is that back in high school, we had computer classes where we were coding in JavaScript, and we were doing chemical periodic table and those kinds of things.
Okay.
And I really enjoyed programming, and I also did Turbo Pascal. And among our class, I feel like I was just one of the only lady among the bunch of men who enjoys coding. And that's the reason I took up computer science, because I really love coding. The feeling we're in, you get to solve each problem, makes you feel like a genius already. So I wanted to do more of that one. So I picked up computer science. And that's how I entered the IT world. So after 4 years, I graduated. And then the reason, my first job was an iOS developer. And how did I get that job? So back in college, I was very active in school in terms of student organization. So I was already organizing conferences, competitions, those kinds. And in one of the conferences back when I was graduating already, one of the speakers, since I mentioned about being a people person, right? You build relationships with the people. So whenever you're in a conference, you talk to whoever it is that who's sitting next beside you. So it could be the speaker, it could just be a colleague, it could be someone else. And then it just so happened that one of the speakers was talking to me, and then eventually we enjoyed talking, and I inquired about what this company like, what he does, those kinds. And then after the conference, I was lucky. I received an email from him, and then asking if I would be interested to be part of his company. I wasn't looking for a job then, because it was still around 2 months before graduation. So I was just really enjoying my senior life. And then there you go. After that, I explored the possibility of working with him. Although I was also looking for another specific work, there was a training for another company, but I didn't get in, so I took the job, and then I started as an iOS developer. So after doing iOS developer for a couple of years, during that stint, while I was doing iOS development, I also got exposed to project management, because the team was quite lean, so you have to have someone to do project management that also reports to a client. Right. So for a time, I got called to that one, and then eventually, I did more of the project management roles. And at the same time, by the way, when I started doing iOS work, I got exposed to DEVCON. That's how I found out that, there's a DEVCON, and it felt like it's a student organization for professionals then, because The difference between being in school is that you have school for you have specific classes, right? You attend school, and then after school you do your student organization activities. So I was quite busy then. When I started working, I got bored after non-working hours. So what do I do with my time now? Then I had a lot of energy and I found out about DevCon. And then that's how I volunteered for DevCon. That's how I found out, oh, they do a lot of similar to my student org back then. They
Mm-hmm.
organize events, they organize conferences, workshops, and I wanted to be part of it. And then that's how I learned about various technologies, trends, different people, different companies, and I found out that there are startups. I only knew about actual businesses, and then there are startups. And then after that one, that's when I volunteered more for DevCon, and then eventually they wanted me to hire. They wanted me to be part of DevCon as full time to scale the organization. And
Right.
it was a good run because I ran it for about 4 years. So from 5,000 developers in terms of reach, we were able to scale it to 40,000 in in the span of time. And then from 3 local chapters, we were able to double it to 6. So that's around the Philippines. So it was a really good and fun kind of work, because you can see that even if I wasn't really coding then, I was exposed to marketing, I was exposed to sales, because in sales you have to find sponsorships, right? So what you're selling is organization mission,
Mhm.
and that's the part wherein I became heavily involved in partnerships. So it's not just being selling and then we're done. So the relationship was really more on partnerships, and then you also have to do sales as well for customers, because there are paid events and there are those that are not paid events. And then that's how I learned about sales and marketing. But I was still doing project management at the same time
Mhm.
on the side during that time. And then after doing the DevCon stint, the founder, Winston Damarillo the founder of DevCon, he got me invited to the enterprise company named Amihan Global Strategies. And that's when I applied my sales and marketing skills in the corporate world.
Right.
So still the skills is still on sales, business development, marketing, partnerships. And the partnerships I was handling then was, let's say, partnerships with global companies. So global companies like Google, the other MapR. We also have the other and more of enterprisey companies, but I was managing the relationships then.
Mhm.
And then after that one, a friend, so I think I was doing it for about 3 years at Amihan. So I was in the enterprise world for about 3 years. And then after that one, I think last year, my friend, a friend from way back then, was already running his own company, and by then he was looking for a person to. Initially, it was just to run the programming competition that he wanted to do. So the name of the competition is called Stack League, and it's a year-round programming
Right.
competition here in the Philippines. And then he just wanted to, hey, can you help me run this competition, because you have the network of the developers, you have the network of different partners that might be interested in this one. Initially, that was just it. But then there are other things that they were doing that I thought it was interesting. So then the conversation scaled up, and then that's when I became the head of growth. So to help him run not just the competition, but also the product side as well. So that's my journey.
Right. Right. No. And as you mentioned, it feels like you were also in DevCon. It was like a mini head of growth as well, right? Na parang
Yes.
building that relation, growing that from 5,000 to 40,000, and then the sales and partnership was further enhanced in Amihan, and now you're at that another. Is it still a startup, or would you consider
Yes, it is still a startup, still growing really fast.
really fast? Great, great. No. So, um, given that right now as head of growth, and we are in a remote setting situation, how do you feel about remote setting whether for yourself or for your team, or also, in terms of capturing growth?
Yeah. So remote working is gonna here to is yeah, will be here to stay. And for me, it works well for me because you have the freedom to actually how to manage your time. So you have more control over that. The only thing that is not working for me quite well is that I'm an extrovert person, so I really needed other people. So even if you're talking to your team, even if you're talking to your
Mm-mm.
friends in online, right, it's still not the same with having them in person. So how do I address that one? But it's a good thing right now that it's not anymore ECQ we're in. We have to be really just at home. It's already opened up. So what I do when I'm not, let's say when I want to see other people or at least have the ambience of other people walking around. So I just go to the nearest coffee shop or nearest cafe or see friends working together at the same area. So that's how I deal with it. But in terms of working with my teammates, it's pretty efficient in a way because you only meet with your team whenever it's required, and all the rest, how they manage their time, you just trust them and how they will manage their time. As long as they deliver, then it's good. And then so you don't have to be in an actual office wherein okay you will have to be there by 9 to 5, but not that but during but when you're in the office, you don't really do 9 to 5 working all the time, right? You have other things that you also do, and that's fine. But for remote work, it's working fine because it's more efficient this way. It's just that for sometimes you just need to go out whenever you need to, but it's up to you and how to manage. You have more control over your time, and it's working fine.
Right, right. No. Speaking of, this situation, you were able to transition to a new work within this period, no? And I mean, maybe you have some insights on how others could get hired, or maybe you are hiring at this particular period. What are the hiring strategies for anyone looking, or anyone looking to get hired, or anyone looking to hire?
Yeah. So I'll take the first one first. So looking to hire because I've been doing a lot of hiring stuff lately.
Mm-mm.
So if although it depends on the role. So for example, if you are venturing into a tech role, one of the tips that I could give you is that one, do if you're a student right now, do some pet projects or do let's say try to create projects that is not part of your curriculum. That's what I'm trying to say. What does that mean? So it means if you have other ideas, let's say if you want to, you have other ideas, you can just go ahead and do them. If you want to learn about mobile programming, go ahead, do your first Hello World, your first calculator, or find someone. Let's say you have a friend who has a business, maybe you can build a website for them. It may not be paid, it cannot be paid, but having a portfolio of products that you already build that is not part of school, that is not part of your work, is really a huge edge for someone who is looking for a technical role, because you can already see it there that okay, these are the types of jobs that you were working, and that's a given. You have to put the things that, let's say you're applying for a job and then you already are a professional. It's
Mm-mm.
default that you can see the different job descriptions of the roles that you've had before, prior. But then if you can also show, let's say in the interview or during the interview, that you can also demonstrate that you have a bunch of other projects that you've been doing outside of work, that's a really good plus. That means that you have the initiative to really learn. So that's continuous learning. And also, it means you are proactive as well in using your skills outside of work. So that's for the technical roles. And also for how about for others, one of the things that I prefer or really admire is that whenever I hire for a particular role, I would have preference for those people who can articulate the process or the aspect of that particular role. What does that mean? So, for example, marketing. So if you are, I would ask you questions. For example, how would you approach this one? So if you're, how would you approach marketing this particular product, for example? If you are able to articulate the process that this is how I would do it, first thing, step one, step two, step three, during that time when you are explaining, if you are able to identify, I would use this different strategies, it shows that it shows your experience. Because if you already have the experience, you would imagine that these are the things that would be applicable for this particular approach. Another thing why I would prefer to have someone who can articulate those process, those ideas, those aspects is that if I understand what you are saying, you have a good communication skills. If you can communicate those things to me, that means you are also able to communicate them to your bosses, to your colleagues, to your clients. And right now, given that it's remote, it's very important that
Right.
you can communicate really well. So especially right now, even though before it's also very important, but I think that's something that people might not be, I might not focus on, but right now it's very important, especially today. So yeah.
Right. And so I guess my final question here is in terms of like a summary, no, or your advice, no, advice to our audience, no, for those that want to really grow in the IT profession or IT sector. What's your advice to them? You know, whether they be following in your footsteps or not, or you know, based on what you've observed in the IT sector so far.
Yeah, so this one, it's not just for the IT sector. In general, I just have one piece of advice, really. So one is always continue growing. So you continue to grow not just your technical skills, your soft skills. So those two are very critical. Continue to grow and always learning. And also, the other thing is contribute to the learning of others as well. The same thing, help them grow their technical skills through mentorship, and also help them grow through help them grow with their social skill or soft skills as well. And that would be great if you are, let's say, you are in a team, you're working with others. Most of the time, you have special expertise, right? And then others have their own special expertise. So if you can share your expertise with them, that is one way of helping the other person grow. So that's it. Always keep on growing. So grow yourselves and also help the others around you grow as well. So that's when you become, because that's when you become more successful and you're living actually a very fulfilling life, knowing that at least one person there inside your circle or outside your circle, you are able to contribute to their growth. And that's how the community works here in the Philippines too. Pretty much all of the volunteers there are also sharing whatever it is that they learned. And most of the time when they started, they also learned it from other people who chose to share their knowledge as well. So it's a full cycle. So if you wanted to be part of that one, you learn a lot whenever you share something from other people. And also your soft skill and communication skills also grow as well.
Right now. And audience, no, that's what we're also doing here, you know, exposure, sharing our insights. Hopefully you pick up a couple of items there. I personally picked up some items myself, no? And so we would like to engage with you. If you want to leave in the comment box, I will reply. Or if you want to, you know, reach out to me and Miss Haifa also, feel free to do so also. You know, we're waiting for your comment below. No? So, Miss Haifa, before I let you go, do you have any last shout outs or last invites to our audience?
Yeah, so this is particularly for our developer audience out here, whether you're a student or you're a professional. I would like to invite you to Stack League, Philippines' first year-round programming league. So it's not just a competition, although it is a competition with cash prize at the end. The idea here is we also help you grow. So there are a lot of sessions, regular sessions, that you can leverage on, whether it could be a tech session. We partner with Microsoft, AWS, Accenture to do this tech session. So you learn about cloud, AI, chatbots, and all those things. And we also partner with tech portals or tech job posting companies like
Mm.
JobStreet, Caliber, and Workbank. And these are, let's say, for sessions like whenever you look for a job, what are the things that you need to do whenever you go to an interview, or what's the landscape like? So I'd like to invite you so that you also not just test your programming skills and also earn from it. By the way, we have weekly treasure chest right now that if you become part of the top 10, you get to earn 500 pesos cash. So that's one. So it's not just a competition where you improve your tech skill, you also learn from the different partners that we have. So that's it. Thank you so much, Raf, for your time and for inviting me for this session.
Right, no? So do join that. The link will also be placed in the description below. Right. So again, thank you everyone. Thank you, Miss Haifa, and thank you to our audience for listening. And we hope you enjoyed it tonight. Thank you and goodbye. And of course, if you like our content, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe button, and notification bell.